cover it for a minute. In the beginning of a relationship with a client, you need to ask them what they would like to be called. And be real careful with honeys and sweeties, unless they say to you, honey, I don't care what you call me, sweetie. If they start using those words, it's a little bit different. You just call me anything you want to. My children call me Nana. Would you like to call me Nana? I would probably say, what was comfortable for me to call you? Would you like for me to call you Nana? It doesn't really make any difference unless they're telling you to call them something that's a terrible word that you would never say. It really doesn't matter. But be very careful with the honey and the sweetie. Because if they don't respond to that, it could be because they're uncomfortable with that. I mean, I have to tell you, I call everybody honey and sweetie. A lot of that is I used to be at Memphis in May, and all those people knew me, and I didn't know any of them, so I had to say that. You know, as I've been with patients for so often, a lot of them I didn't know either, and many times in the past I said, honey or sweetie. Let me tell you who I don't use this much with, is geriatric patients. Yep, I really don't. Because I've learned that they respond better when I call them Mr. or Mrs. Now, if they say to me, will you just call me Jackie? I go, yeah. Sometimes their name's not Jackie. That's what's really crazy, but then they have had a mental status change, so that's okay. But they want me to call them Jackie, I'm calling them Jackie. You know, I don't care. But be a little bit careful about that. This is a hard one, y'all. This is a very hard one. This is the hardest one for you guys. Keeping secrets. It is so hard. They will tell you secrets, some of which you probably can keep, but many of which you cannot keep, especially symptomology. If they're saying to you, honey, I got up this morning and I couldn't walk. I had to sit on my bed for 30 minutes. Had these bad things running through my feet. And you would say, oh, I'm so sorry, but you're feeling better now. Yes, I'm feeling better now. Tell me a little bit more about them, because I think that's something we should tell your doctor. No, I don't want anybody to know. I don't want anybody to know that, because if they think I'm having some symptoms, they'll give me more medicine. I don't want any more medicine. Uh-oh. Or listen to this one. I love this. Gloria is a 78-year-old woman with Alzheimer's related dementia and hypertension who receives services from a home health agency. During a recent visit, the agency RN supervisor noticed that Gloria's dementia is progressing to a point where she may soon need full-time nursing. Gloria is very upset at the prospect of leaving her home, excuse me, and refuses to consider a different living arrangement. Yesterday, here's David. Yesterday, Home Health David, arrived at Gloria's home, discovered a burned dish towel in the kitchen sink. When David asked Gloria what happened, she said that someone must have left the dish towel on the burner. That's kind of a child's response, isn't it? Then they used to say that to you. I don't know who did it. You know, they're the only one there. You know you didn't do it, but they didn't do it either. When David also noticed that Gloria has forgotten to take her medication again. She begs David not to tell anyone about the towel or the meds. David isn't sure what to do. He wants to respect Gloria's rights and maintain patient confidentiality. And he doesn't blame her at all for wanting to stay in her home. That's tough, isn't it? That's tough. But what might you find the next time you come?
Something worse.
Well, the house could burn down and her in it.
Right.
I mean, here's the deal. Here's the other deal. For the most part, someone who has it together, like, let me just ask about any of us. If we burned a towel, like we haven't done that before, taking something off the stove, I mean, that's a pretty familiar thing. And we turned the water on it, and we left it in the sink. We probably don't care if somebody finds it. But somebody with dementia would try to hide it if they could remember to do that. You see what I'm saying? So you got some other stuff happening here. Okay. All right. The next thing is touch. Okay, this is a tough thing, touch is, because we all feel comfortable to touch certain people. We all feel pretty comfortable having certain people touch us. And then there's a whole group of people we don't want to touch us at all. Would you say that's true? And touch is very different if it's touch in a bad way, but sometimes it can be miscommunicated. So let me show you how this works. Let's suppose that you have a client and they are crying, okay? And most of us would have a need to do what? What would we do? Just go touch them or hug you or pat you or something. It's not bad to do it, but ask before you do it. And let me tell you why. What if this person that you're giving care for had someone beat her up when she was little, or even as an adult, and it started with a touch, or it starts a hug? They're gonna be real so you always say, okay, and you get as close as you can. I'm right here for you. Do you need me to pat you? Or whatever. If they say yes, then you may. Or do you need a hug? Or do you, whatever. You may do that, but always ask. Let me tell you why. There are people who just don't respond to touch. And there are people who, in later stages of dementia, are repulsed by that. So you just have to be careful. You may think you're doing right. You may think you're doing exactly what you would want, and here's another part of boundary crossing. Just remember, they are not you. And so what you may think you would like doesn't necessarily mean that they would like that. Does that make sense? Just being very careful about that. I'm not going to go into that because I don't really have time, but I will go into this because this is very, very important. Be careful with what you accept from someone. Mary Lou had to step out for a minute, but I'm quite sure that you guys have some policies in place about what you can accept and what you can't accept. Be very aware of what those policies are. We have policies at Delta. I'm very aware of what those policies are. And I never cross that boundary, and you should never cross it either. I had a guy one time when I was, this is going to really date me, but when I was at Mid-South Hospital, which doesn't even exist anymore, that's how long I've been in this business, which is very frightening. I'm amazed that I'm this old and still, and I hadn't been to the doctor in over a year, which is bad for me, but the deal is, I had this guy, we had a ceramic shop and with a kiln and everything, you know, and so he made me this thing, and it was Jesus praying, and there were some roses around him. Jesus praying, roses all around him, and it was done in all black. And so I said, thank you so much. This is just lovely. Thank you. And so right after he left, Dr. Knott, who's no longer with us, came into my office and he said, he looked at that and then he said, and who the H gave you that? And I said, so-and-so. He goes, he's not on enough medicine. Thank you for letting me know. And he goes up to give some more medicine. But the deal is, that was okay to accept. I mean, you know, that was made right in the shop. That was okay to accept. What if instead he had just said, I like you a lot, and I wanted to bring you this beautiful bouquet of roses? Youch. That relationship has now changed from one of therapist to one who is receiving gifts. Just be real careful what you receive. There's an example in here, I won't go into it, but it's basically started off very, very small as this person had a little piece of costume jewelry that clearly didn't cost much. And so she asked her caregiver, she said, I want you to have a little something, this doesn't cost much, but but I'd like for you to have this. And the caregiver said okay, and it was okay with policy. Again, I don't know what your policy is, but it was okay with policy. And the next thing she did was she said, I wanted to ask you, this is like a week later, listen, this you've always said my dining room suit's so pretty. I hate it, I'm getting rid of it. Do you want it? Yeah, now we've kind of gone a little bit beyond the mark, because now we've gone into personal furniture. Okay, do you see kind of the difference in that? A little piece of costume jewelry to a larger piece of costume jewelry to something with a diamond in it to a dining room table, then we've crossed limits. Because when people begin exchanging gifts, people are becoming the F word, the friend word. You are never going to be a friend to your client. That you're not in the friendship business. You're in the caregiving business. You can be friendly, but you cannot be a friend. Because a friend has a great deal of expectation that goes with that on both sides. Do you see everything I've been leading up to? All these little things, touch, overextending boundaries, taking gifts, communicating love, those kinds of things are going to be an issue, okay? All right, so okay, almost done. Let's see, I did nicknames, I did sharing personal information. Well, I don't think I have to say, I talked about secrets. I don't think I have to say this, but I am gonna say this. I don't think that you all would ever, in the business that you're in, do anything inappropriate sexually, but your client may. I'm just going to say, they're very starved for attention. You've tried to set these boundaries all along, but they may want something different from you. You better clean that up immediately. Even to the point of saying, since we're mostly women, Mr. Jones, that's inappropriate. I'm here to give you care. Do we have a problem with that? Because I have a problem with that. And be pretty concrete about it. You know, and it can be just a simple remark. It can be something like, I didn't really realize that caregivers had such sexy legs. You say, thank you, but that's real uncomfortable for you to talk about that with me. And I'll tell you what I would do with that. And any of these things that happen, any one of them happen, immediately call somebody else and tell them. You can't keep secrets either. I don't care how much you like this gig, how much you like these people, it's going to be a problem. Call somebody and tell them. Call somebody in charge and say, look, I just had this conversation with Mr. Jones. I think I've made myself very clear. This is the way I've handled it. Let me tell you why it's so important that you tell somebody else, so that they can document that. So that if Mr. Jones comes back later and says she made sexual advances to me, you've already got it documented. I'm telling the both of you, so you can understand that you've documented with a date and a time and everything. I don't think that will happen, but it has happened. And so none of us are exempt from that. So very important. Okay, so in closing, how do you get back to boundaries? Well, if any of these things caught your eye, if any of these things made you think, well then, right then, find somebody and share it with them. It's just so important. I can't begin to tell you. Do you have any questions? All right.
Oh,
Yes?
What if, like you're leaving and you, say, goodbye, see you the next day?
Uh-huh.
Is that inappropriate?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. We did that with our children.
Uh-huh.
We said, we'll always come back to get you. We've been a little song that we sang. Yeah, it's fine. If you know you're coming back the next day or you're in good faith, you say, it was a great day today and I hope it'll be a good day tomorrow. See you tomorrow, whatever. Sure. That's friendly.
That's fine.
I don't want you guys to get in a position that you think everything can be misconstrued as wrong. Just remember, you're friendly, but you're not a friend. That's the most important thing. But yes, it's great.
Okay,
Yes.
so what if the person say to you, oh boy, I needed that.
You say, well, good.
But you start, that kind of rung a bell to me.
Well, again, that's, yes, anything that
Yeah.
rings a bell for you. But I think it's okay if people say, when you're essentially saying to him or to her, it was good to spend the day with you. There's nothing wrong with that. They said they probably did need that too, for you to say, yes, it was, or whatever, sure. I think it's fine. If it feels funny, it is funny. If it doesn't feel funny, it's probably fine. Okay?
Okay, Mabel, you did like this. Were you
Oh.
saying you pat and tell them you
You know,
I'll see you tomorrow?
See you tomorrow, like that.
See, she's touching.
Yeah.
She's not just talking, she's touching.
Well, that's okay. If you have gotten to that point with that patient that you feel pretty good about that, you've probably done it before to them. They've not recoiled or anything. But sometimes, I'm just gonna say, just saying, sometimes just a touch on the arm is good. It's a little bit less of a boundary push. Just touch on the arm. Yeah.
Sometimes when I feel like a pat or a hug is needed or wanted by the client, I ask. It makes it a little bit awkward because I'm asking permission right in the middle of feeling like they need it. But just by asking makes it okay a lot of times, because you're not, if you say, I feel like I just wanted, to reassure you, is that okay? And if they start pushing back, then I don't do it.
Right.
But if they say, if you see that stress just sort of melt because you even asked, or then I think it's okay.
There's one thing that will help this.
Yeah.
And that is the most important thing you do with them ever is eye contact.
Yes.
That's it. So again, sometimes, just like I did before, sometimes I just love to get close to people and say something like what you just said. It's been a really good day and I've enjoyed it. I hope it's been a good day for you too.
Yeah, no touch needed.
And you just don't even need to touch. Really, sometimes that's even more powerful.
Sure.
Because it's saying, let me tell you what it's saying. When somebody looks you in the eye and it's a good look, they're saying, you're an important person. And thank you for letting me be a part of your life. You're not saying that. That's what it's feeling like. People love that.
They do.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible to maintain that type of boundary with the same client over a period of years?
I think boundaries change with time. I think they do for everyone. I think as long as you know that there's certain boundaries that can't ever change. Sexual boundaries, secrets,
Financial.
financial sharing, anything like that. I think, I know, I'll just give you an example. My best friend's mother had lots of caregivers during the last year of her life. And they were all from the same agency, and they were very good. They weren't from this agency. I would have preferred they be from this agency, but they weren't. And they actually, I think in some ways, did some harm, because they would get very close to her, and they would willingly take what she wanted to give, even if it was a free lunch or a whatever. And I think that just gets icky. Now, if you have been the same caregiver, and you've gone through a year, you pretty much know what you can do and what you can't do, what you should do and what you shouldn't do. I just say never let it get to that point, that it's become so intimate that, again, you've become more of a friend than a caregiver. Then there's an issue. Yes, Judy?
I got a sneaky person where I work.
Okay.
I have someone who put a $20 bill in my purse when I wasn't in my office. And I know that it was someone from work because I never carry cash anymore. Hardly anybody does. And so what I did was I just took the money and bought donuts for the staff on each floor because I felt like I'll just share this with everybody.
I think that's perfect.
But I know they're gonna do it again. until
know
I
what?
figure out who's doing it. Now I'm locking my purse up, so they
Okay.
can't get to my purse. But
Here's the deal, you did perfect. You did perfect. And if that person ever came and said to you, did you find $20? You say, oh, was that you? That was so nice. You know, we're not able to accept gifts here, and I was pretty sure it was a gift. So let me tell you what I did. I took it and I bought donuts for everybody. See, this is perfect because you're then telling her, I can't take it, nor can I not take it, but because it was not identifiable. I used it for the good of everybody. So you're perfect, Judy. That was smart and beautiful that you did that. It was perfect. Yeah. Okay. Oh, did I have one more?
Yes. Sometimes if we notice our clients, we have one particular client that will your shift is over. He stick his hand out for you to shake his hand, and I noticed a caregiver. She was being relieved, and she reached down and hugged him. So her hair is all in his face, and she's all on him.
Yeah.
And he has a reputation.
Yep. And he's clearly said handshake.
Yes.
Okay, well, let me just tell you what. Handshakes are healthy. There's nothing wrong with that. But a handshake is not meant to be close enough that you pull somebody in. Okay? So if he's extending a hand, you can take it. Just make sure there's enough space. If he starts pulling in, say, oh no, thank you for shaking my hand. I love a handshake. But yeah, you're right. You don't go into that. Anything else? Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm sorry that my voice was so scratchy.